Good morning, students. Today, let's read the chapter, the story, The Happy Prince, from our supplementary book. Very interesting story we have, but it is about, written by Oscar Wilde. The Happy Prince was a beautiful statue. He was covered with gold. He had sapphires for eyes and a ruby in his sword. Why did he want to part with all the gold that he had and his precious stones? Let's find out in the story. Here the story starts. High above the city, on a tall column, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. On a tall column in the city, there was a statue of a Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with the thin leaves of fine gold. Gilded means covered with gold leaves all over. For eyes, he had two bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. In place of eyes, two bright sapphires, very precious stone, sapphires, and a large red ruby was on the handle hilt of the sword. One night there flew over the city a little swallow bird flying over the city. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before. Swallow is a migratory bird. During the winters, it migrates to Arab countries and Egypt, like warm countries. So his friends had already gone there, but he had stayed behind. He was left behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. All day long he flew, and at night he arrived at the city. The swallow bird arrived in this city of Happy Prince. Where shall I put up? He said. Where shall I? Now it's night time. Where shall I stay? I hope that town has made preparations. Means as I have been coming here, so I hope for my arrival there are sufficient preparation for me in the city. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. I will put up there, he cried. He shouted, I will stay there. I will stop there for night. It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air. So he alighted just between the feet of the Happy Prince. He just landed at the feet of the statue of the Happy Prince. Oh, I have a golden bedroom, he said. As the statue was golden, so the bird was delighted, saying, I have a golden bedroom. He said softly to himself as he looked around, and he prepared to go to sleep. But just as he was putting his head under his wings, just ready to sleep, a large drop of water fell on him. A big drop of water fell on him. What a curious thing, what a strange thing, he cried. There is not a single cloud in the sky, and the stars are quite clear and bright, yet it is raining. How come the drop of water fell? No clouds, stars are there, but it's raining. Very strange. Then another drop fell. What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He said. It is a statue. It cannot protect me from the rain. What is the use of it? I must look for a good chimney pot. That would be a better place. Some chimney. And he determined to fly away. He decided that he should fly away. But before he had opened his wings, a third drop fell. And he looked up and he saw, oh, what did he see? The eyes of the Happy Prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. surprised. Those were not the raindrops, those were tears coming down from the eyes of the happy prince. Who are you? He said. The swallow asked, Who are you? I am the happy prince. Why are you weeping then? Asked the swallow. You have quite drenched me. He said, Happy prince? Then why are you weeping? You have quite drenched me. It means you have completely made me wet. Then I was alive. The happy prince says, when I was alive and had a human heart, I did not know that what the tears were. I never knew about the tears because I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. In the palace there was no sorrow, no grief. My courtiers called me the happy prince. And happy indeed I was. I was indeed happy. So I lived and so I died. I lived very happily. I died even happily. And now that I am dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city. Now, as I am standing here as a statue on this high place, from here I can see all the sadness of my city, all the poverty of my city, and though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but to weep. So, seeing all this problems, worries, sadness of my people around the city, I cannot stop myself from crying. What? Is he not solid gold? Said the swallow to himself. He was too polite to make any personal remarks. So, as the statue, the happy prince, told him that he is made a statue, he has been made into a statue and covered with gold. Now the bird thinks it is not a solid gold, it is only covered by it. But anyway, the bird did not make any remark on that. It would be personal. Now the statue continues. Far away in a little street, there is a poor house. One of the windows is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. As now the statue is very high, so he tells Kina what he is saying right now. One woman sitting at a table, her face is thin and worn, very tired, and she has coarse red hands, very rough red hands, all pricked by needles. Hands are pricked by needles, for she is a seamstress, because she is a seamstress who does the work of sewing the clothes. She is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor. What is she doing? She is doing the embroidery work, embroidering flowers on a lovely gown, and it was being made for queen's maids of honor, the queen's chief servants, chief maids, to wear at the next court ball. The queen's maid of honor has to wear this into the next court party, royal party. So she was preparing that gown. In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. Little boy is lying but is ill. He has a fever and is asking his mother to give him oranges. His mother has nothing to give him but river water. So he is crying. The little baby is crying. He is hungry. He wants oranges, but mother doesn't have anything else then but only river water. So swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? My feet are fastened to this pedestal and cannot move. Now the happy prince requested to the bird swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? Please take out this ruby, this precious stone from my sword, and take it to that woman. I cannot move because I am a statue. My feet are fastened with this platform. I am waited for in Egypt, said the swallow. My friends are waiting for me in Egypt. My friends are flying up and down the Nile and are taking to the large lotus flowers. Soon they will go to sleep. The bird said no, she had other things to do. She has to reach Egypt where the friends are waiting. The prince asked the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. The prince requested he just for one night stay here. The boy is so thirsty and the mother is so sad, he asked. I don't think I like boys, answered the swallow. I want to go to Egypt. Swallow is still not ready. She says, no, I don't like boys. I want to go to Egypt. But the happy prince looked so sad that the little swallow was sorry. But looking at the condition of the happy prince looking so sad, the swallow melted. It felt very sorry about it. It is very cold here, he said. But he agreed to stay with him for one night and to be his messenger. Finally, he agreed, okay, it will stay there and it will be the messenger and it will take its message or to that woman. Thank you, little swallow, said the prince. The swallow picked out the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak over the roofs of the town. Taking the ruby in his beak, it flew away. He passed by the cathedral tower where the white marble angels were sculptured, the church tower. He passed by the palace and heard the sound of dancing from the palace. A beautiful girl came out on the balcony with her lover he saw in the palace. I hope my dress will be ready in time for the state ball, she said. I have ordered flowers to be embroidered on it, but the seamstress are so lazy. That means that beautiful girl in the balcony was the maid of honor, the chief maid of the princess, who was saying, I am hoping for my dress to be ready on time for the state ball. Means ball is a ball dance party. So he passed over the river. He saw the lanterns hanging on the masts of the ships. Passing the river, he saw the lanterns hanging on the ships. At last, he came to the poor woman's house and looked in. The boy was tossing feverishly on his bed, turning here and there, having a lot of fever, and the mother had fallen asleep. She was so tired. So mother was sleeping. In he hopped. The bird hopped inside and laid the great ruby on the table beside the woman's thimble. Then she put down that ruby on the table beside the woman's thimble. Thimble is the little cap the tailors usually wear on their thumbs just to save their fingers from pricking of needles. So she put that ruby down on the table. Then he flew gently round the bed, fanning the boy's forehead with his wings. He saw the boy has a lot of fever, it is very hot. So it flew gently over it, fanning it, giving it some cool air. How cool I feel, said the boy. The boy felt very comfortable because of the air of the wings of the swallow. I must be getting better, the boy thought, and he sank into the delicious slumber. The boy felt comfortable, relaxed, and he also slept comfortably after that. Then the swallow flew back to Happy Prince and told him what he had done. It is curious, he remarked, but I feel quite warm now, although it is so cold. After doing this, the bird said, though it seems very strange, it is very curious, but even after the atmosphere is very cold, but now I am feeling quite warm. That is because you have done a good action, said the prince. The prince said, it is warmth of your good action what you have done. And the little swallow began to think and then fell asleep, thinking always made him sleepy. Whenever she starts thinking, she feels sleepy, so she fell asleep. When day broke, he flew down to the river and had a bath in the morning. Then she said, tonight I would go to Egypt, said the swallow, and he was in high spirit at the prospect. He was very happy, excited about going Egypt tonight. He visited all the monuments and sat a long time on the top of the church steeple. During the day, he visited all the city, visited all the monuments, sitting on the top of a church. When the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. Evening time, it came back to happy prince. Have you any commissions for Egypt? He cried. I'm just starting. Have you any commissions means have you any sort of work there, any messages to give anybody? Commissions means here any work there, any message to give anybody in Egypt. As I am just starting, means I am starting my journey to Egypt. If you have any messages for anybody, you can tell me. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, the prince said. Will you stay with me one night longer, one more night? He said, one more night will you stay with me? I am waited for in Egypt, answered the swallow. No, I have been waited there. My friends are waiting for me in Egypt. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Far away across the city, I see a young man in a garret. He is leaning over a desk covered with papers, and in the glass by his side there is a bunch of withered violets. His hair is brown and crisp, and his lips are red as a pomegranate, and he has large and dreamy eyes. Now what he looks, another thing he tells the bird, far across the city, what I see a young man in a garret. Garret means a small room on the floor like a attic. There is a young man. He is leaning over a desk, doing some work, leaning over a desk. The desk is covered with papers, and there are bunch of withered violets. So many papers are there. His hair are brown and crisp, rough, and his lips are red as pomegranate, and he has large and dreamy eyes. His eyes are large and dreamy means sleepy. He is trying to finish a play for the director of the theater, but he is too cold to write anymore. Actually, he is a writer and he is writing a play for a director of the theater. He is trying to finish it, but because of too cold, he is not able to write anymore. There is no fire in the grate, and hunger has made him faint. In his grate, in his oven or angithi, there is no fire, and he is so hungry that he has almost become faint because of hunger. Now we will be completing this in the second video. Okay, what happens after this? Okay, let's take this with. I will wait with you one night longer. So the bird agrees again. Okay, for one more night I can stay here, said the swallow, who really had a good heart, kind nature. So he asked if he should take another ruby to the young playwright, like the last night. What he has to do? He asked, has he to take another ruby to the young playwright? Okay, what happened after this we will read in the next part. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you. Bye bye.